Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.
You're very intentional with your messaging. I noticed you've been using the word joy a lot recently. Used it post-game locker room this morning in your interview. Is there a reason you're deciding to focus on maybe that word in particular? Is it part of a larger message?
No, I've always thought that's very important. You always, like I've said that from the very beginning. You can go into a building and say, "Man, I get to go to work. Man, I got to go to work today," or "Man, I get to go to work today," and that joy is part of it, right? In football, there are all these professional football. There are all these pressures and there's all these ups and downs and everything like this. But we got into this game because we loved it, and that, like, I think that's a really important thing is get into something. God willing, I got into this through the grace of God of like doing something I love for a living, and so I think that in the world you can let things beat you down a lot, and not really give knowledge to all the things that you have going on that are really good. And I think that's just part of it. And I think that's just a healthy way to live, and it's healthy for your life, and it's healthy for a football team.
What did you like about the way Jalen ran the ball on Sunday against the Raiders? Like, it seemed like
he got a lot of yards and a lot of first downs. But he was really efficient with that, and he does a good job of protecting himself. He does a good job of taking what the defense gives him. He's got great football knowledge and football IQ in everything that he does, and the run game obviously goes hand in hand with that.
What about the penalties in a game this season on Sunday? Where do you attribute that to?
I thought this was a clean football game for us all around of our fundamentals and our detail. And you attribute that to the amount of work that doesn't just happen by chance. You attribute that to you're trying to consistently get better throughout the year, and hopefully those things are gonna happen. And so, our fundamentals, our penalties, all those different things, I thought were clean, and we need to look to build upon that.
What have you seen from Jalen Hurts in terms of under center and throwing when he's been under center?
Yeah, he's done. I think he can be very successful and efficient any way he needs to go and play. And whether that's the gun, whether that's in pistol, whether that's under center, he's shown the fact that the ability to be able to win and be efficient and a good and with everything from all different levels. So whether that's on the move, whether that's slightly on the move, whether that's a drop back, and right in the same area. I just think he's been efficient throughout his course of his career and everything that he kind of goes through.
But under center isn't something he did very much of until he got to the NFL. So it's something he had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And you got him very early in his career. What have you seen over the last 5 years in terms?
He's somebody, of course, yeah, he hadn't done a lot of that in college, but he's just somebody that's going to continue to work hard at the things, at everything. Like again, you wouldn't expect him, he works hard at everything that he does and loves this game of football and puts everything into it. And so, anything that he's doing, he works really hard at, and obviously this is no exception.
Marcus is here in 2023. What do you remember about his impact, quarterback room, his impact on Jalen? What did you like about that?
Marcus, obviously had played a lot of football. Excuse me. Marcus had played a lot of football and, has been in this league for a long time. 2015, I think he came into this league. So I have so much respect for Marcus. The person, first and foremost, the player, the teammate. Marcus was just a great pro, and just got nothing but the highest amount of respect for him and the things that he's done in his career, and like I said, top-notch teammate. So a lot of respect for Marcus.
Nick, the sack numbers are way down in the last 6 weeks or so. How much of that is the O-line, maybe guys getting healthier? How much of that is Jalen's decision-making in the pocket, and what other factors go into that?
Yeah, I think everything. This is the ultimate team game. So everything attributes to that. I think we're getting good contributions, receivers getting open, doing good things there, good protection, Jalen good, reading the defenses and getting the ball where it needs to go. So I think everything contributes to that. It's been, it's hard to move the ball forward when it's hard to score points when you're not consistently moving the ball forward. That goes back to our negative runs that we've talked about, but that's also sacks. So everything contributes to that, and we got to look to continue to build upon that.
You
talked
talked
about-
about 4-week game in the season. That's your most since you've been here. How have you, the coaches, the players, navigated the lack of a Sunday to Sunday routine?
That's life in the NFL, especially for, a team that's had the success that we've had. And so we understand that. Like everything, Zach, like whether you're on a short week, long week, you have these processes that you go through and you constantly tweak them and try to make. I love our short week schedule right now. I was just saying that to the coaches. And not that I don't want to play 30 of these, right? But you adapt the schedule and you adapt your process, to try to get better each time. And I know I say that all the time, try to get better. Well, you try to do that every time. There's always a teachable moment for you to do that. And so, we did something a little different last week coming off a Monday night game on a West Coast that we may not have done in the past. We kind of mirrored that a little bit today. I always want the players to get their rest that they need because we can do all the schedule stuff we want. Their bodies are still coming, off of a short week, but our strength and conditioning staff, our doctors, our trainers, they do a great job of, we're all in this growth mindset. And that's something that we all have to think that way. It can't just be me. It can't just be the players. It can't just be the coaches. The whole building's in this growth mindset. And I take a lot of pride in that. Different things that we've done and the players, we gave them a little bit more rest last week. We'll give them a little bit more rest this week, whether that's sleeping in or, a couple periods off with practice. But it's all in attempts to make them be as fresh as possible and have our plan to be the best plan we possibly can have.
You
Saquon
mentioned
had the comment after the game of we didn't allow the defense to dictate what we do. Just kind of curious how you interpret that and if that's something that you guys have grown in over the course of this year.
Yeah, there's always things that you want to do with who you are and your identity that, yes, you want to get these certain things done. You want to get these certain things in the plan in. And there's always a fine line of that. It's like, yeah, we're doing this. Unless they do this, and then we got to do that. It's because there's a time and place to not run a bad play into a bad look. But there's also aspects of, hey, you got it, rip it, and let's see what happens. And so there's a fine line to that. But there are still true identities that you want to have and press them into what you're doing. And so there's a little bit of both there. And I think that's what he's speaking of.
How much does that have to do with whether they have progression reads or not?
I'm sorry?
How much of that has to do with whether they have progression reads or not?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into how we read things or anything like that, but everything plays into that. I don't think that's good business for me to say, hey, we're reading this play that way or this play that way. I would say that you have we have different style of reads, just like everybody does, whether it's a progression, whether that's whatever. I feel like I get too much into it, but we have probably the same reads as a lot of teams in the NFL have, and some more than others, and it goes into the same thing.
I know we're going to be
general
getting
in a general sense of your shotgun runs, I mean, you guys did have success with that and with your running backs. What is kind of in a general sense the benefit of running out of those looks?
I think we've predominantly been a shotgun run team here. And, I think in 22, we led the NFL in rushing, and in 24, we led the NFL in rushing. So 2 out of these last 4 years we have. There's benefits. And like I said, I'm not, there's not just one way to do things, right? And then there's under center thought process, right? And so, or pistol thought process. So there's just a bunch of different ways to do it. Again, I don't want to get too much into scheme. We're saying, hey, this is why we do this. Like, I don't think that's good for business either. But there's reasons why you get in the gun, and there's reasons you get under center, and and there's multiple ways to do different things. Like, I think I learned that. I probably didn't learn that until middle of my career so far. Of been like, what I used to think is like, whatever I think, and then whenever I'm sold on is this, and it's like, no, there's many different ways to accomplish things. I think that just comes with time and with wisdom of, there's a lot of different ways to be a successful offense.
I know we're going to get an injury report later today, but Jalen, got hit there at the end of the game. How's he feeling, and is it safe to assume like he'll play on Saturday?
Yeah, we'll give you everything here later today after we go through our process, and yeah, so you guys will see that.
Nick, what's impressed you most? Front, Nick, Jalen is usually pretty steady in terms of the way that he comports himself. When you see him react like he did after the AJ touchdown pass, what's your reaction? And do you ever sort of nudge him to show that a little bit more?
Everybody, I want everybody to be who they are and show the personality that they have. And, this world is great because not everybody's exactly the same, right? That would be a boring world if everybody was exactly the same, or if Jalen was telling me not to get as excited as I get, right? And same thing, like I see emotion from it. I see emotion from him a lot of, when he makes a play or he's pumped up about a play. So everybody has their own way of celebrating things, and I love when he shows emotion. I love when he goes to the sideline and plays the next play. Like, I'm good. Show your personality, show who you are, and that goes for everybody on our team within the rules of the game. Don't get a penalty.
Going back to the running game, how do you think the efficiency was? With the more, you talked about Jalen, but the more traditional aspect, you got a good look at Tank and Saquon. How do you think the efficiency was?
Yeah, you're able to get, when you're being successful on third down, you're able to get some of those, more of those runs called, right? Because drives are extending, and we were also in a 19 play drive at the end of the game where we obviously had a lot of runs and only, I think, maybe 2 or 3 passes in that area. But I love the 1-2 punch we have with Tank and with Saquon and Tank. Both are great runners, and when Saquon needs a break, Tank goes in, and that shows itself throughout some of these long drives. And you're really grateful that you're able to have that, that 1-2 punch that we feel like we have.
Nick, after the game, Jalen spoke about the attention that comes to him as a quarterback. What do you think makes him so capable of dealing with all that attention?
Yeah, I think that, playing quarterback in the NFL, you are going to get a lot of attention. I think, positive, negative, all attention, right? And I think that when that happens, like any little thing can be a distraction. We talk about this a lot as a team. Like, any little thing, what distracts you? What can distract you that you need to block out? And I think that why Jalen can handle it so well is because he's so locked in and focused and not distracted by things, to be able to lock in onto what he needs to do to get himself ready to play.
Last one. Nick, what's impressed you most or stood out to you most about the job that Vic has done in year 2 with you guys?
Yeah, I think what impresses me most with Vic is that he's had so much success of being a defensive coordinator through decades of the NFL. But he just continues to grow as a coach as far as, I've never heard Vic say, well, I've always done it this way. All I've ever heard Vic say is, what's the best way to do this time, this game? And that's what's so impressive. I think that you can get into that sometimes, like, yeah, I've always done it this way, which we don't, it's finding out ways to win and to be the most successful each and every week. And I think he's shown different ways that he's done that all year. And that's kind of how I view, like, how he's been throughout his career. And so, man, I'm glad we have him.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.